G'day punters, welcome to the deep dive powered by puntingform.com.au sectional data and Betfair Live's betting data. We're going to talk about what they did late betting wise and what they've done to the clock by Punting Form. We've got the horse whisperer, Rob Scurry. How are you, Rob?
Yeah, very well.
We'll get to Rosehill in depth soon. Shane Ciurleo, Curly, MJ, how are you, big boy?
Freezing cold in Queensland today. Looks like it everywhere, but going okay apart from the cold.
Looks like Pistol is the coldest of the lot there in the penthouse in the middle of the CBD. Not a lot of sun, just the big windows just letting through the big freeze. He's got the big freeze beanie on. How are you, Pete?
7.4 out of 10.
I'll take that every day of the week. Boys, we're going to talk about Hugh. We're going to start with race 1 at Rosehill. Rob, you were there on track. What do you think?
Oh, it's awful watching it go down. It's really, really scary. Obviously, I think everyone felt that, and that's what caused such an outcry. I don't want to mention that I was on the second horse and Lady Banff, which I think should have won. But
you can mention that.
Okay, well, I was invested in the race, and so were the mailbag subscribers. So Hughes cost me again.
Curly, did you watch it? Have you seen it? I know it's not easy to see.
Yeah, saw it. I was sort of tweeted immediately. I think I tweeted something like innocuous, like "fucking hell, Huey" or something like that. Whatever I said, instantly regretted it. And I don't know. It's hard to go. Like you sort of react when you initially see it, and then you want to go back and analyse it and have a good look at it and try and make some informed decisions about the circumstances. But King Jong-un, or PVL, sorry, has censored the vision, so there's no steward's vision. Read the steward's report, which I think is interesting comments from acting chief steward on the day, Wade Birch, basically making excuses for Hugh in his comments and his thoughts on the incident. So yeah, interesting way it's been handled, but I don't know what to make of it. I can't go back and see the steward's vision, so I don't know what to think. Hugh was trying to win, that's for sure.
I think that's the tricky. Like, there's so many times, in my opinion, that he's not overly stressed about getting out and running on and giving his horse every chance. And then this time, he has given the horse he's ridden the horse very, very aggressively to make sure it got out and had a run.
A la Greg Hall on Merlene in a golden slipper. I think it was Merlene, all right?
Yeah, well, obviously we're nervous about what to say because we're going to get ourselves in trouble if we imply too much. But I would say he rode the horse. No, I'm not going to say that because I'll get in trouble. But
it's a reckless shift. That's all it was. It was a reckless shift. I see it all the time.
A careless riding is like when a jockey rides cross, in my opinion, and he like crosses to the lead, and he might cross just before he's clear, and they have to slow slightly behind him to let him across, or her. This is reckless, 100%. And the punishment needs to be relevant to that it's reckless. I actually watched Citizen K last night on Amazon Punters, which I'm tipping. It's quite interesting about Russia and Putin. He's not far off Kim Jong, old Vladimir. And the fact that they have not shown the steward's footage and that no one's really just talked about what's happened and you can't see it and talk about actual Hugh, I think it's an indictment on racing. I think that
it's a bad look.
Any sport, country, political system, anything where they attempt to control the media, you end up with a situation like Russia or North Korea.
It didn't stop the mainstream media, if you like. Channel 7 and Channel 9 led headline.
Yeah, and how embarrassing is that? How embarrassing is that like people who don't make a living from racing are happy to talk about racing in an open, honest way. The people who are inside the bubble just do as they're told relentlessly all the time.
There's no independent media in racing. We know that. We're basically on this issue.
So what's the overs unders on how many weeks? I've got it. I think it should be extended due to the carnage caused, but I think 8 weeks is the line you'll get for this. It should be 16. Because
If you look at my opinion comes from like Caulfield. Michael Rodd copped 14 meetings for his ride on Mystery Shot because he crossed Savvy Lad before he was clear of Savvy Lad.
Not 1.5 lengths clear.
14 meetings. So surely Hugh's looking at like 30.
No, I'd say
40.
more. That sounds like an incidental type of shift, what Rod's done. This is reckless, and then there's malicious, like the guy in South Australia did to his ex-girlfriend.
Pete, what's your opinion?
I'm kind of with Curls. It's like really difficult to make a judgment call, and in terms of punishment without seeing the head on, or like an aerial shot. If it was spring carnival time, there would have been a helicopter or a drone sort of monitoring it. And geez, I mean, would that footage have been difficult to watch? It's a horrific look for racing, and as Curly said, the fact that mainstream media has led with the story, and it just continues the trend of only negative stories seem to make the mainstream press, and racing doesn't seem well equipped to handle it when it does.
Yeah, I think that's because there's this like a institutionalized weakness in reporting independently on the sport. There's no one who's been trained and taught how to report on the sport, like, honestly.
Well, at least not anymore, anyway. I'm sure there would have been, 20,
I'm sure there's
ago,
probably and a couple of older guys who are out of work because they do report on it, honestly.
Well, you got to have a look at you have to look at what drives it, and obviously clickbait articles, drive the revenue, and the major bookmaker sponsors are driving revenue for your digital platforms, and then you've got Racing New South Wales, who I'll use the word sponsor in inverted commas, the major racing publications, print publications in Sydney. So they will basically write what they're told to write. And
get your Kosciuszko tickets. Come on, guys. Let's just.
They're only $5. They're only $5 apparently.
I know. Get your mates together. Get a syndicate.
Curly, what's your opinion on over-unders?
He won't miss any more than 6 weeks, and will enjoy August off and back in time for the better
Golden
horses
Rose.
coming back through September.
Golden Rose? Back Golden Rose Day.
Is that mid-September?
Yeah.
We'll only miss 4 weeks, in my opinion. Might get 8 and 4 on review, or 6 and 4 on review, but won't ride August. We'll be back for the spring. Conveniently.
Oh, he's, Hugh is,
But we're not judging Hugh's character here.
Not at all. Not at all.
No, that's exactly right. It's not like a. We're not going after him. We're going after the incident. We're talking about the incident. I think he should get a heavy suspension, and then he comes back and play on. It's a sport.
Yeah,
exactly.
Now to the racing. Eduardo in race 7. Rob,
no.
Victoria.
Isn't that the horse that won in Sydney?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you say race 7. It's like race 3 or 4.
Eduardo.
Yeah, race 4.
Race 4, sorry, yeah. Eduardo
Gotcha.
in race 4 has recorded the biggest figure on the card, 11.9 above the all average. Puntingform.com.au benchmark, Rob.
I tried to call you about it.
Melbourne form. I know. I was in a bit of a coma. I apologise.
That's all right.
If I had given you the push, would you have launched?
Oh, yeah. But it was 3. I was expecting a bigger price being first up, but it was how it looked. It was ready to go. It was forward, walking around really well, blinkers on, up against a horse, Rosehill, who's looked underdone. He always looks underdone. He never seems to get fit, and when he does, he runs poorly. But it's a good bet. Probably could have had more on. Good figure. It's probably it is the best race of the day. Rosehearn's a good horse.
He's run at 11.9 here. He ran like a 12.3 above the all average, third ever start. He's a horse with proper ability. You'd assume it's a trainer upgrade. No knock, Sarah Snosh, but Joe Pride's got a pretty strong resume, and I'd say Nash Ruilla goes a little bit better than Bryant Park.
Yeah, man.
It's sort of set up for a bet. If you, I don't do it, but if you're someone who did Victorian and Sydney form in detail, you'd probably find this horse pretty easily. Do you think it's got more to come this preparation?
Yeah, for sure. Look, I don't know its preparation, that how it parades, but it's definitely got a good run next start in it.
I'd say it never looked too heavy.
Yeah,
just looked real muscly and real sort of cut up, but not light.
Yeah, but he had good condition on him. But yeah, athletic type of sprinter, not a real sort of powerhouse. Looks like a proper 1,200 metre horse.
Race 7 now we get to Magatu 1. Pete, what do they do at the clock here in race 7?
Race 7, they've gone very slow for the class. In terms of the overall adjusted figures, they've gone pretty much just even, but no, we'll go off the class figures. Very slow here. Magatu's settled back in the run, and I guess, Rob, probably the question is, where do you see this horse getting to over a preparation? What's your impression on his type?
He's a athletic, taller than average horse. Strikes me somewhere between 16 and 1,600, 2,000 metres. But yeah, like a quality Saturday type, but not outstanding, not like a weight for age type. He's come back here like he did first up when I got done. I laid him. Thanks, Rory. Said he couldn't win. Very, very heavy in condition. And yeah, I didn't even find him in my numbers. I almost I was going pretty well at this stage on the day, and I was keen to back Taikamochi 1 by 3. I'd never seen him look better. I know 1,500 is too short for him, but you'll see he's lobbed into third in a photo. But yeah, I'm never going to find Magatu first up. It's a bit like Rohan, just seems to parade really heavy and run really well first up.
And the last race we're going to talk about is race 8 with Poetic Dreamer. Is it? Charmer?
Yeah, this is
Poetic Charmer.
Oh, it's a bit sick. So I'm on the two that sort of cut each other up down the straight and look the winner for a good 300 metres of the race. Sort of same thing happened with the Grey in an earlier race. But I thought Prime Candidate, come on, looks every bit like a Saturday horse. And my old mate, You Make Me Smile, seemed to have improved again. And I feel I'm a bit stiff not to get the bickies here with these two on-pace horses.
It was the strongest betting race 8 on the Rosehill card, 507,982 matched.
Rob,
sorry, mate.
You go.
NSW on the podium this week with the Betfair pre-play.
Look,
pre-jump.
Nothing pre-play. In play, it did have Corcho in race 5, the staying race over 2,400. Corcho was one of the top 5 most heavily wagered horses in play, with a volume of 37,976.
300 of that was mine.
All right. Rob, any horses that stand out as horses to follow for you, mate, from Rosehill meeting for the punter at home?
I don't know. You Make Me Smile can go well again. Magatu, what thing that impresses me about Magatu, the way he travels in a race, he's got a lovely action. So yeah, he's probably the best horse. And maybe I'll give another Girl Tuesday. Might have another look at her. I didn't have her in my numbers this time, but she's a beast. Out of a champion mare.
All right, let's head to Doomben. We've got 2 races we're going to focus on. If anything else Curly wants to talk about, we will. We're going to start with race 6, where Ciurleo has run a 9.2 above the all average to be the biggest figure on the card. Curls, how'd you find Doomben?
No, terrible. Track deteriorated as the day went on and as the rain continued to fall. I didn't think. I fucking launched in race 7 where I thought we'd back the leader who I thought would control and be hard to beat, and the danger would be sort of just midfield and be strongest late. So yeah, I know, like Ciurleo, good horse on the wet track. He had, just to touch on that race, I think he had something like 500 and something odd days off before he's resumed this preparation. 538 days off, resumed at the Gold Coast, and has had 4 wins in succession now, all on rain-affected ground. So he's done a good job to come back and beat up on what could only be described as just an ordinary winter class off-season racing in Queensland. But he's hit form at the right time and in his right grade, so he's racing well. Not a lot to come out of it. I think we had something small on piracy in that race. I thought it would lead, and with that sort of bit smaller field, everything will be able to take a position nice and quickly, and it should get its chance. And decided to go out about 7 lengths quicker than average to the 600 and just totally gas itself. So that was handy.
They've gone very, very quick to the 600 for the class, like not for the class in race 6, but they've still gone real quick, and then super, super quick in race 7.
Yes, so race 7 was the race I launched into. I was on Say Haya, and it was sort of pretty well supported. Thought it would be able to find the front, and Mayosi would be the danger. I'm not sure what you've got there, Pistol, from a betting point of view, Mayosi, but just caught my eye late, adrift on the fair.
Yeah, opened $4.60. This is half an hour before jump time. Opened $4.60. The best part of 66,000 matched. It's closed at $5.90 after hitting a high of $6. So completely unwanted, fair to say, especially over the last 10 to 15 minutes of betting.
Surprisingly enough, it's missed the start.
#they.
They always.
Now, the close off from the... Now, we've seen this in the past. I'm going to touch on this and articulate it the best I can. We've seen it in the past where we have the on-course people standing on the roof at Brisbane or, on trackers on the fair, laying things as they miss the start. Now, that pre-off window's been closed a little bit from what I can see the last couple of weeks. So that delay from the on-course bloke betting and having that advantage has been the window closed a little bit time-wise.
Yeah, which should make the SP more truthful.
Exactly. So what I saw there was, I launched Say Haya, and I just had a chop out on Mayosi, thinking that it would be the horse from the back to get the favours. And then it just, the last bit, I just see it drift heavily, and it's missed the fucking start, which I've said it a million times, talking about racing in Queensland, particularly the Saturday Metropolitan, the worst for horses beginning according to how the fair thinks they will begin. This was a great example. Say Haya went nearly 7 lengths quicker than average to the 600. I'm having a whinge here, I know.
Whinge it up. Go for it.
So it's gassed out of the gates to lead. Jim Byrne sort of made the leader work a bit, then sat off, and then sort of wanted to get up and attack the leader again from the 500, basically. So it was a good ride by Jim on the winner. The winner's got home in 13.4 seconds for its last 200-metre split.
Yeah.
It's just sick, and Mayosi's sort of out the back. I'm not saying
it's walked its last 200 as well.
Yeah.
Because Mayosi's actually gone the fastest it's gone, all preparation, even with the Snowdens, to the 600, because this race has gone so fast, despite it being slowly away.
Yeah. Look, I suppose by the time you get to that part of the day and the rain had been there, and, in hindsight, you have a little bit of bet regret. But, you don't anticipate that a horse is going to go out 7 lengths faster than average, and the other one, misses the start. So just frustrating a little bit there. But it just goes to show this time, sometimes when you look at these horses and this quality of horse and the jockey, we've got riders in these races, but not necessarily jockeys. And Jim Byrne, I reckon, is a genuine jockey. He knows the tempo. He gets to the right parts of tracks. He's smart. He makes others work and all that sort of thing. Like he's a jock. Where sometimes you got these others that are just riders, they just jump and run and don't have a clock or, that sort of thing, which is all part of the puzzle of trying to pull the trigger at the right time to bet. So not a lot to take out of the day. The weather was terrible, deteriorated, as I said, as the day went on, and we got to race 7 and they got called off just on a side note, I got a trophy on the weekend for being able to bet and put the arse on the race before the races were called off. Had one bet at Bow Desert in race 2, ran second.
I was on it.
Off. And then that race in Brisbane, I've launched race 7 and they've called them off after they've come back to scale. It's so fucking sick betting here. Win it. Yeah. It's just so demoralising.
Are there any horses that you can stamp that we can follow?
I'll tell you what, don't look in the stewards report to find a horse to follow because there's never anything in there of any value. Mayosi, no mention in the stewards report.
No mention at all.
Just look, checked shortly after passing the 600 when inconvenienced, it says.
Yeah, I don't think it's...
Anyway, look, out of that... I could go on for days here. I
just love that there's someone else feeling like me. That's all. I'm just really... it makes me happier. Thank you.
Horse-wise, I suppose, Kisakano was a horse that had a bit of a spruik on it. You know, it won well on resuming at the Sunny Coast, and there was talk of taking it to Sydney. 3 kilo kid goes on it, and it runs third. It's a bit of a worry. This is like just for me, like betting up here on Saturday. And no knock on the kid, but you got a young jockey like Alex Pattis, still claims 2 kilos at provincials, and so that tells you how many winners they've ridden, and claiming 3 in
Herbie,
and getting good rides on horses firm in the market. It's totally skewed for mine. Like whether a young jock's ready to go to town after when they're still becoming 2 on the provincial.
So that's an opportunity there to lay.
Well, yeah. I mean, I discussed the Kisakano race with Scoot in the preview, and I was always reluctant because it's got 63.5 kilos, but we've got a 3 kilo kid claiming. Are we assessing her at 60.5 after the claim, or do we assess her at 63.5 with the full weight because of the jockey switch from a good senior to an apprentice? There's definitely something in it. There's definitely something in it going forward. 3 kilo apprentices get good rides in Brisbane on Saturdays in the off season, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Has got rolled on a couple of favourites there during the meeting, so could be something in it. As far as horses come into the meeting, I suppose the only one that I thought could be followed would be from race 7. His number 13 was number 13 in that race. Get Your Grey On. It was come from the back with Mayosi. I know it was a strongly run race, but it had trialled well leading up to that event, and that was its first start for Michael Costa after getting it off Matthew Dunn, and I think Costa will be able to improve him off Matt Dunn, and it'll be one to follow through. It'll win a metro race up here.
Beautiful, Peter. What were the biggest betting races on Saturday?
So we're talking horses matched pre-play. There was 4 at Caulfield. There was 1 at Morphettville. The 4 at Caulfield, Mystery Shot, Mohammedas, Viridine, and Tabby Dance. No surprise, they're all well in the market. Octane was the horse at Morphettville. But if we go to horses matched in play, which is arguably more exciting and sometimes more interesting, 2 at Caulfield, Morrissey and Mystery Shot. No surprise to see Morrissey there with the change of tactics. At Doomben, there was 2, Star Dome and Ciurleo, and then we mentioned Court Show at Rosehill.
All right, let's quickly head to Caulfield. There's a lot of positivity about the Caulfield track on Twitter, which I just find staggering because it's either you either don't properly bet, or you've got an investment in being positive about Caulfield. Because the first winner settled worse than midfield, rails in run, in a disgusting race where Jamie Carr, who didn't get suspended, I thought she was immoral to go on a holiday. She took out no say in it when she rolled in badly, almost caused a stack. It was just an awful, awful race. we were in shock, Peter. I remember we were talking about like what the fuck just happened there. How Battle Talk didn't win, which we were on, which was in the 1-1, and then somehow was last with 300 to go and flashed home for second or third. Like, for fuck's sake, just you wonder why I didn't answer the phone, Rob. Like, I was on No Say In It, who was building into the race really nicely. It's clearly going better than Tabby Dance, who was wobbly as hell. Then J Car has rolled in on No Say In It, which was squeezed out. Reese McLeod fell asleep on Battle Talk, squeezed it out the back of the surf. No Say In It's been hampered. Battle Talk cast. It's flashed. And it's just repulsive. Skyman, nice horse, good win. Heavenly Emperor, I thought this would be the dumbest, stupidest ride on the card. This is a horse where Mitch Aiken unlocked it last start by rolling forward and being positive on it. Great ride, Mitch. Really, really good riding, Mitchell. Really, really strong riding. This start, he elected to take a sit on it.
Will Price.
And he went 5 lengths slower. 5 fucking lengths slower than it went the previous start. Second race, winner, rails in run, basically lead or just behind the leader. Ollie sort of led but stayed off the fence. Third race, winner led, rails in run. Second horse, rails in run, midfield. Fourth race, winner ran on. 2000, like staying race, irrelevant. They gutted themselves and went way too fast. Fifth race, winner was midfield with cover. Fair race, but limited horses were in the front and limited horses were on the fence, and the ones that were on the fence were held up by the slow horses that led. Sixth race, which we'll get to in detail soon, Morrissey crossed and led after sneaking to be last start when we were on. It beat Ruben Blur, who was midfield rails and run, who beat Great Duchess, who was behind Morrissey rails and run. The seventh race, Viridine was midfield rails and run, beat Streets of Avalon, who was rails and run Coffin, who beat Great Again, who was rails and run lead. Sasko was lead rails and run and almost beat Mahatma Deus, who was better than midfield. The run of the race was WUT, who was behind Mahatma Deus when it crossed the post the first time. For whatever reason, Brad Rawiller, in his experience, chucked out 2 anchors and a handbrake and slowed the fucking thing down till it almost choked on itself, and it was unbelievable. He was last on the corner. I thought Will Price had sewn up the worst ride on the card in race 1, but not leading on Heavenly Emperor. We weren't on it, and I wasn't on WUT. But this ride by Brad Rawiller was the worst ride I've seen in a month. Unbelievably stupid. The last race, the winner sat rails and run lead with the second horse, which was outside leader. The track heavily favoured rails and run, and no horse in an honest race won from worse than midfield, except for the staying race. The track didn't race fairly. Caulfield doesn't race fairly. It raced like a good Caulfield track, though. It was a nice Caulfield track where there was a nice steady pattern. It's very rare that Caulfield favours horses that are worse than midfield. The track improved dramatically on what it's been providing, but it wasn't like a fair track. The horse I want to follow out of the meeting can be WUT. Like, fuck me. I'll butter up once. I didn't back it on Saturday, which when they jumped and where I was at mentally, I thought, oh, you fucking, oh no. Because it had Mahatma Deus' back, and I thought, this is outstanding by Brad. This is going to be the ride of the day. It's going to win. And I was really, really angry with myself for not backing it. It should have been shorter than it was.
Sending out the units.
Yeah, and then you just started to just slow, and I was like, oh fuck. Yeah, so WUT can be followed. Anything that was worse than midfield and wide and ran on has a lot more merit than it probably looked. Pete, let's head to Belmont.
Sure.
Indian Pacific's done the biggest figure on the day in race 3, 7.3 above the all-average benchmark.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a 1,000-metre horse, but it's come out and just completely brained that field. It's absolutely killed him. Clear best of the day performance by 2.5 lengths on the Punting Form .com.au data. It's a matter of when, not if, this horse gets black type. It's a pretty nice animal. Wouldn't surprise me if it actually ends up over here at some stage. I think it's a pretty talented horse. The rest of the card, it was quite funny. It was almost the similar sort of pattern to Caulfield. But if you listen to a lot of noise around the Belmont track on Saturday, they were talking generally about the track being on speed. Well, it wasn't on speed. It was just heavily rails and run. And I mean, you're getting horses, for instance, in race 2, I think it was, race 3, race 4. Just looking at horses that are settling rails and run are just dominating. We had a couple of 150 to 1 shots lobbed into a place that settled 3 back the fence. It was just outstanding. But it did seem that it took a long time for people to cotton on to the fact that it was rails, not on speed. And I'm not even sure that people quite got it by race 9. It's amazing how many times you see horses from gate 2 incapable of settling on the fence when it's a rails and run track. But that's all right. Just makes it easier for us as punters going forward. I think the race to follow is race 7. The HG Bolton Sprint was a listed feature. The 2 horses that you can follow from this event are clearly Cup Night and Pims Royale. Both of them were not suited. Both were snicked early, got well and truly back in the field, ran some good splits home. Pims Royale was enormous over the last 200 in the worst part of the track. I think that's the horse that you can follow going to maybe some nice features over the next couple of months.
Boys, anything else we want to leave the punters with at home, apart from Cam Dean's AFL stuff has exploded. An enormously profitable week. He's nailed a little all up on an over-unders bet. A couple of them. Head to the mailbag.com.au and get the, what's it called, Peter?
We're calling it the Festival, the AFL Festival, or Festival of the AFL. Or basically, if you go to Cam Dean's product, you can purchase 3 weeks of AFL, so 20 days. I think there's 33 games across 20 days in the AFL. You get 3 weeks worth for the price of 2, 33 games. It's just outstanding value, and Cam will just be firing off bets left, right and centre. It starts Wednesday and will run through till Monday in August, whenever it is. It's 3 rounds.
Yeah. Look, can I just say that betting on football, I was on Adelaide on the weekend against Essendon. Betting on football.
What about that? You were blessed though when the Bombers defender just tried to soccer the thing, which if he connected, it probably went out in the full anyway. Yeah. Tried to kick the shit out of it, and then the Crows bloke picked it up and torped it. You see, he torped it through.
Yeah, I did.
That was
the
only
old
goal
school. They kicked. Seedsman and Tex at the end. I will never ever bet on Adelaide when Tex is in the team ever again.
Yeah.
I find betting on football. That's why I love the races. I guess you're out of your misery in a minute or two, but a game of football like that with that many mistakes, when you're fully invested, not for me. Too often.
Curls, any last thoughts? Anything on Hugh? Anything like that?
Oh, not really. I suppose we probably were remiss to not mention that there was 6 lanes inside the leader that he could have went inside of to obtain the run. So obviously, I know it was only race 1, but obviously
they walked the tracks though. Like when people I saw on Twitter, they're implying like, because I've said before, you watch a couple of races, you build a pattern, and you start betting to it. That's because we're punters, so we can't go and walk the track and go, yes, this is what it's going to do. If we could, I'd start betting to a pattern before race 1. That's what the jockeys are doing. So he knew the inside was off.
Yeah, he didn't want to go there. Maybe the leader knew that as well, because the leader did want to get away from that fence as much as possible without being too severe in that shift. But it definitely rolled at some, they definitely rolled a lane or 2 there. But I don't know. I'm just going to hibernate for the next 4 days and just do a bulk amount of replays and keep the heater on, and just look forward to betting Saturday on what is hopefully some kind of resembles a dry track. I've had a gutful of wet track.
It's just great. Well, we're going to have Canterbury in Sydney, which is it's 1-lane highway. It has been for a long time. But sadly in New South Wales, the best track is Newcastle, and it just doesn't nearly get used. Instead, we're at Randwick, which if it's wet, it's just bottomless, and Rosehill, which just needs a break. They should be using Newcastle. In these COVID times, time for innovation.
I think there's no doubt that the Emperor's focus on prize money and owners and breeders, and the neglect of these main tracks which they rely on, is a factor in the dangerousness of the racing up there, because they've all tried to jam for 1 or 2 lanes and it's caused a huge fall. And it's a situation that will happen again and again. It will happen when there's lanes at any track in Australia. But I just want to say, before everyone jumps down our throat, we're punters trying to be journalists today to talk about Hugh, because no one else does. Don't jump down our throats. We're not journalists. We're punters. We're just giving our opinions. If you don't like them, don't listen.